All right. Well, welcome everybody. This is my first coding stream. Hopefully, y'all can hear me. I've had some issues with the mic in the past, so be sure to speak up if there's any issues. Um, let's just make sure I'm coming through okay. And hello? Hello, hello, hello. All right, everything seems to be working right. All right. Well, all right. So we're going to work on a little campaign tracker I've been putting off on working on. It's going to be a Xamarin Forms app. I've come through and sort of mocked it up here in Adobe XD. I'm not really covering the XD part so much today. But if you're interested in that, make sure you comment and let me know that you want me to cover more of that. We've got some basic colors here, some different screens, um, and we'll get started. Within a new Xamarin Forms project, we're going to do File New, Project. Um, and we're going to choose a mobile app, Xamarin Forms, and hit Next. We're going to call this Pixel Spark Gaming. If I learn how to spell correctly. And yep, we're going to allow access. Flyout. Yeah, we're going to have a flyout, I think. Do we have a flyout in the design? Yeah, we've got flyouts in the design. And we're going to go ahead and auth that. Let me pull out my phone, let it know that it's an actual legitimate attempt to authenticate with Apple. Oh, no, allow, and put in my code, and bam, I have authenticated with Apple. All right, so we're planning on putting this on all the platforms. We're going to add a few other platforms later on, but we're going to start out with these three. And we'll do the flyout template with shell and let it create a project. And of course, it wants me to enable sideloading for UWP apps. Okay, so that looks right. We've got to connect to our Apple device, which I've got a Mac Mini here sitting on my desk that allows us to compile the Apple binaries. So let's go ahead and update that. It's just always great to do an update for Visual Studio right before we do any kind of presentation. So there's problems installing. Great. All right. So we're gonna skip the Apple part for tonight. Maybe if we get some time, I'll go ahead and update that. Got to update our Android SDK. Probably should have done this before we started, but it's always an adventure, trying out new things. Yeah, we're spinning, 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 spinning. If you're unfamiliar with the, oh, I can't do anything until that's done updating, can I? I can't even scroll. Okay, so if you're familiar with Xamarin Forms, this is probably a rehash for you. If not, this is our shared UI and service layers. And then below is each individual project, platform-specific project, Android, iOS, and then below will be a UWP app. And we're spinning. We're thinking about updating Do 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 do. I probably can't do that, can I? That's probably copyrighted. Already on the road to demonetization, day one. All right, so let's look a bit at this. We've got our default color, so we're going to go ahead and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set up our theme um, and our global stylings. Um, we'll have some different titles and things like that. If you're familiar with CSS, it's sort of that sort of thing you want to set up your classes, but it's a little more focused, a little less convoluted. I don't know. Whatever your experience with CSS is, it always seemed to be sort of this massive undertaking. And we're still updating. Do, 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 do. So these icons here, I've pulled in from Font Awesome. I don't know if you're familiar with Font Awesome. It's a pretty cool little tool or project. Font Awesome. Let's turn off bookmarks. So Font Awesome 6 Alpha is out. It's got vector icons and social logos, brands, different things like that. It's pretty cool. It's got a lot of different things. There's some alternatives to this. Here's the bootstrap icons. But my preference is for Font Awesome. As you can tell, I use it on my website. If you haven't had a chance, go over to pixelspark.tv. And find us on all our different platforms. So there's two different levels. There's the free version and the pro-only version for Font Awesome. So you can pay. I think it's a subscription fee. Yeah, it's $99 per year, which isn't too bad. They've got quite a bit of things, almost 8,000 icons. But you can use it. You can use it if for free in your mobile apps. And the way you want to do that is you want to use the font. And we'll get into that in a moment. So we've got a project up. Like I mentioned before, we've got our 3 projects for the different platforms. There's Android, iOS, and UWP. And then we have our .NET Standard project. And let's go ahead and increase that size so y'all can see that. Let's switch to light. You always want to do presentations in light mode. Actually, I think we can. Do I have presentation mode set up? Let's switch over to presentation mode. It's open without code. Spark Gaming Solution. I'll go ahead and close the other one. And this should be a little easier for y'all to read at home. Got some bigger fonts going on here. All right. So with any Xamarin Forms project, you have your app.xaml. And then with any shell project, we have an app shell. Defines all our layouts and all that. So let's make sure this is working. Just for speed's sake, we're going to run this in UWP first. And of course, you're going to complain that I have to install this all over again. Somewhere in Microsoft should probably look at that. Deployment errors. If you haven't a chance, say something in our chat. Make sure it's working. Okay, problems installing. Hooray. But it's still installing. Okay. So if you haven't checked out the Xamarin Forms community tools, those are pretty awesome. They've got a lot of features in here that you might enjoy. Some different behaviors, converters, effects, just some general things you might want to use in your applications. Make your coding a little easier. Like async command. Who here doesn't use async? Yeah, it's pretty essential, and for whatever reason, it's not just baked into command. If you're familiar with MVVM, command is sort of a binding in place of an event. And we'll get into that in a little bit. Different effects, converters. These are some really useful converters that, they're pretty simple, but, it's just kind of tedious to have to rewrite them every time you create a new project. Double to int, equal converter, invert boolean, because you can't do a not in a binding for whatever reason. You think you'd be able to do that. And it's pretty simple. You just install the NuGet package, and if you need to access any of the resources out of here, you use the namespace, the XAML namespace. Are we done? No. Our lovely Windows error sound. I feel like there's an error somewhere that I'm not seeing. Let's look at the desktop for a second. Nope, nope. Desktop. Nope. Nope. Well, it looks like we're going to have to shut this down. Pop over here into TeamViewer and see what's going on my Mac instance. Exciting times. Living on the edge. Nope, not going to install that. Well, this is an example. Instead of a dead parrot, it's a dead Visual Studio instance. It won't shut down. So we're going to have to use Thor's Mighty Hammer. If y'all haven't been on the stream before, I've been playing some Valheim, so you're going to probably hear some Norse and Viking references throughout my stream. If you haven't had a chance, go check out the game. It's pretty awesome. They've gotten over 500,000 current users and 3.2 million in sales, game sales. The last time I checked, it's really doing well. Go away, Visual Studio. And of course, Google Chrome's using 2.2 gigabytes of RAM because, can't exist without that bloatware, right? Let's make sure our Xcode is up to date. And we're going to pull up App Store on my Mac Mini. Pull that over here. No updates here. Okay, let's see here. We'll try to run Visual Studio again. Yep. All right, setting developer mode on. Yes, yes. We're adding a new feature to Windows. This could take a few minutes. That's never a few minutes. All right. Well, while that is getting set up, let's create a new folder here. Add new folder, themes. And we're going to add, yep. Okay, go ahead and install this. Let's see if it works this time. Oh, I can't do that. Nope, stop. If you haven't a chance, make sure you like and follow Pixel Spark TV on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook. I haven't really done anything with the Instagram. If you want to support our content, which little content we have so far, check out our Patreon page and be the first to see our edited videos after they've gone live on the stream. So you can skip out on all these updates and installs and exciting things. If you want to hear the latest and greatest and get in on the streaming, there is a Patreon level for VIP that will allow you to actually join the stream. You can ask questions or even maybe join the game for streaming gaming. And where are we? 85% download to install. They really need to like speed this up somehow. It's not something we should have to install every time. All right, we've got it installed. Let's kick the font up a notch. And we're going to hop into options. And then let's see if I can remember how to do this. Fonts and colors. Well, we have this really powerful tool at our hands. So I'm going to Google it with Bing. I don't know if you all have heard that before, but since Google has become a verb, we're going to Google it with Bing. So fonts, let's see here, Visual Studio, font size, Solution Explorer. Well, that's the third one there. Must be pretty popular. How do I change? And we got the good old Stack Overflow here. So environment fonts. Let's hop over to environment fonts. couldn't have it in alphabetical order, could they? Let's try 15. All right. That's, yeah, I don't like that font. Let's change that. Options. Um, no. Let's go with Sergio. Is that what it's called? Sergio UI. 15 should be large enough. And let's change our text editor. For a code. All right, everybody should be able to read that now. So this is the cookie cutter template code that we get with Xamarin Forms shell. Let's go ahead and run that on our local machine. See if we can get this running. You know, before I screw it up. I got to make sure that it actually runs before I mess it up. That way we know it's my fault, not, you know, Visual Studios or Microsoft's. So this is our default hot reloaded UWP app. As you can see here, we've got the Xamarin logo, and then if we pop into our views, we have our items page. Nope. Browse is our items page. About, we're on the about page. So we can pop into here. And let's do some editing just to make sure. Hello, Pixel Spark TV viewers. All right, so we got the hot load working as well. That looks good. So let's go ahead and stop that. So the first thing I like to do before I start any project is I like to set up Git. And my favorite tool right now is Fork, because memorizing spelling of command line stuff is just not my forte. So let's pop in the Fork. As you can see, I've got a Discord bot I've been working on here, but we're going to work on a new repository. Nope. Sources, repos, Pixel Spark Gaming. Select folder. And one of the first things we want to do is we want to put in our git ignore, because we don't want to commit a bunch of DLLs and files that are specific to this on this computer that are just temporary files. We don't want to commit our bin folder and all that. I'll restart that later. Source, repos. And if you've never used one of these before, they're pretty awesome. Let's see here. Let's pop that up in Visual Code, Visual Studio Code. And this goes through and just basically tells you what files you want to ignore. This is something I've pulled down from GitHub, This isn't something I've created myself. So whenever you're setting up a project on GitHub, that's a great way to get it started. So let's close that. And as you can, well, let me refresh this. We've got 1,469 changes. Do a fetch. No, we can't fetch. Let's get our branch. Maybe. Why not? Put it in the right folder. So you can tell I put it in the right folder. It's in pixelspark.gaming. Why are you... There we go. I just had to take a minute to refresh. So this is all the cookie cutter code and items. I'm going to go ahead and just stage that, or dash A, if you're a command line person. And then I'm going to write in my commit code, initial commit, using Xamarin Forms flyout template. What's that show? Okay, now it automatically created a new branch. We're going to rename branch to production, just so we're clear on what is what. And then we're going to leave production there for a bit since we're not actually in production yet. So we're going to go ahead and work with that. The next thing I like to do is make sure all my NuGet packages are up to date. So I'm going to go to manage, right click my solution, manage NuGet packages for solution. Wait for that to come up and see what updates we have. Nothing new. Let's be a little dangerous. Let's look at the pre-releases. Nothing. Okay. What do we have installed? Okay. So we're on Xamarin Forms 5. Out of the box. That's nice. I don't have to update that. Xamarin Essentials 1.61. .NET Standard, which is what our project here is. It's going to be a .NET Standard library. And then we've got the UWP project, or NuGet package right here. Okay, so we're going to add a few. The first one I like to add, which I've already talked about, is the Xamarin Community Toolkit. So let's set up getting started with that and grab the name of the NuGet package. Where is the name of the NuGet package? There it is. In this case, so we're going to add the community tool. I'll learn to speak someday. Toolkit. You're going to put it in all of our projects. And it's going to install some dependencies if you want to look through those. So it's going to use some reflection compiler services and some different things. And I'm going to accept the agreement. Hopefully I haven't given away my firstborn. I'm sure they would return him. All right, so that looks like that's done. Let's run it again to make sure we're working. Cool. All right. Let's close that up. Let's go back to gaming. We've already created our themes folder, so let's create a styles XAML. And we can go down to Xamarin Forms. We want to get one of these XAML projects, so we're going to do. It doesn't really matter. Because we're going to change this all up anyway. We don't need a code behind for this. Yep, I'm going to delete that. Get rid of the class. All right. So I'm a little rusty on this, but hopefully you can get something out of this by me looking it up. So Xamarin Forms, style, XAML. So we're going to go over to David Ortonelli, try to learn how to spell. And we're going to check out his GitHub. And he doesn't have a link to that. So let's go back. Dev community, dev blogs. Here we go, GitHub. He's got some great sample projects if you ever want to look through this. Some of his sample projects on how to do things. The little playgrounds one is good, and the Zappy ones is real good. We're going to go over to Zappy, and we're going to make this a little bigger for y'all. And his project's set up just like ours. It's a Xamarin Forms project. We're going to dig into it and go to our cross-platform project, our .NET Standard project. And he's got his in styles. But we can go in here and take a look at this. So we want a resource dictionary. So let's steal that. I'm going to steal this little compile flag. Bam. And we're going to have to grab these little our namespaces. So our little squiggly went away. By the way, I don't like squigglies. They are bad juju. And then we want to add this to our app XAML. So let's go take a look at how to do that. So we're going to go down and dig into his app.xaml because, you know, why remember things when you could just Google it? And we can add it by adding a resource dictionary. Said we're going to do themes, and we're going to do styles. Probably could, you know, rename those, make a little more sense. Eventually, I want to have a light and a dark theme, just to support the light and the dark mode for the device. But that will be later on in a different session. So the first things first, we're going to grab some colors. So we've got all these different colors that I'm using throughout. If you're really good with XD, you know how to actually bind to these colors. They use a different word for it, but it's basically binding. And global. So we want a color. So anything in a resource dictionary is going to use a key, and that's how we reference it later on. So we're going to use alert color, and we're going to call it, or set it, and we get a little preview of what the color is. And that's going to be something that we can use throughout our app and in our styles. What other colors do we have? So our primary background color is going to be this brown. So let's call it primary background. It looks a little darker in here, but that's fine. Secondary background. So this green. It's very woodsy colors. So what else? We want our primary color is going to be white, and we will want to switch that out, and these colors will switch out depending on what mode we're in. Like I mentioned earlier, that'll be in a later session. But we're going to set this color so we can reference it because we want to be able to change it. So yellow, we're going to grab this yellow. That's going to be our highlight color. And then we have odds and evens row, so like a odd row color, even row color. That's the same color. It helps if I copy and paste it, right? Oops. All right, this is going to be our cell color. All right, so now we can reference all of these. Let's go back over to our About page and take a look at that. Actually, let's look at this. So this is a style for a button, a pre-existing built-in. We've got normal and disabled for states. That's pretty cool. We'll probably be using something similar to this coming up, but for now we're gonna put it in the About page to test it out and see how it looks. Let's go ahead and load the app up. We're gonna set this over here, and we're gonna move that there. All right. So now we can see both side by side. And I'll try to keep my editing to the top of the screen since you can't see the bottom. Most of that's just debug messaging and that sort of thing. So we've already got a binding to a color here. This is a color, where is that defined? Accent. That's probably defined shell. No? Is that defined in the About page? Oh, right here. It's already defined. You can actually define colors and for the resource dictionary styles and all that at different levels, at the app level, at the page level, and even at the element level. But you typically don't want to do that because then you're just repeating yourself a lot. And, you know, dry. Don't repeat yourself. So let's go with the primary background color. That was quick and easy. That loaded up really fast. Gotta love hot reload. Back in the day, we had to stop and start the application every single time we made a change. It was quite tedious. So we got a PNG here. It's got a transparent background, so we don't have to worry about that. Now let's look down here. We've got the scroll view and a stack layout. So we're going to set the background here. Background color, static resource. So this is a binding, and this is binding to something in the resource dictionary. We can also do dynamic resource, which is something that can change. So we'll need to do this in the future because we'll be switching the values of these. And then we're going to do our secondary background color. Now, where is that margin? Something you might think about doing, padding 0, margin 0 as a default for all layouts, because and then you can override these. Where is that coming from? There's a neat little tool out there, but I haven't installed it. It lets you just set all the background colors for every layout on the screen, and that might be something we'll cover later in another episode. But what you can do is you can go through and set your background colors for different items to help you figure out where that's coming from. So that's the stack layout. Oh, okay. Is there spacing in this? Row spacing. Background color red. I'll play around with that later, see if I can figure out how to fix that. For now, we're just going to cheat a little bit, and we're going to use a dynamic resource of a secondary background. All right, so now this is not a very good contrast, and we're not using our proper colors. So what we can do is we can set a style, and the way that we'd want to do that is we want to come up to our styles. And we need to set target type, and we're going to target labels. So we want all of our labels to have this style, right? And then we want a setter. I'm going to set the property of text color, and we're going to set that to a value of primary color. And we're going to end that. Didn't like that. So let's set a key. Default label. Well, that don't work either. Let's take a look. Where am I going wrong on this? Well, let's go over here and cheat a little bit. I'm going to steal something from him. Style, target type, apply to derived types. Label, base label, set. Let's try starting and stopping it. Sometimes things in global, I thought they fixed this, but sometimes things at a global level don't register when they change. The alternative is you can actually set the style by binding it to this default label. And then if we want to do a highlighted label, what we can do is highlighted if I learn how to spell, right? And if there was anything like font size or other settings in there that I wanted to keep, I could do based on and then provide that resource. style. So why doesn't it like that? Based on, does it want to have static resource? Let's try static resource. Yeah, okay, static resource. And then we're going to do setter property. Oh no, we're not going to do. And then we can just do style dynamic. Well, we're not going to change this. The only thing that's going to change is the color, text color. And now well, that's interesting. Okay. So it doesn't look like it's picking up the color. So we're just going to drop the based on for now. Doesn't like the color at all. Interesting. Okay, so we've got that set now. And then if we wanted to do a button style, target type button, then we're going to call that default button. I know, real original there, right? Background color, and we're going to do value of, what do we want to do? Let's go with primary background. And we'll set the text color to static resource of primary color. Nope, color. All right, now we're actually going to apply this so you can actually see it. Button here. Let's get rid of the text color and background. And we're going to set the style. And blammo. All right. We're going to take a little bit of a break here, and we'll be right back. hoodie. Oh, turn on my mic. It's getting a little warm in here. I had to take off my sweater. So let's go back to our design. So sort of the key entry point and if you're not familiar with tabletop gaming, is there's different types of campaigns, different games. So we got our flyout menu here. So let's actually start to work that out. I'm going to move that over here. Actually, well, let's here. Zoom out a little bit. And can I get rid of this bar? There we go. A little bit more space. And then we're going to grab the app. I'm going to stick it over there, and then we're going to put the Visual Studio in the middle. All right. So everything here is defined in the app shell for all of our flyout menus and stuff. You can't see the hamburger menu because it's covered up by this these stats. So how do we want to do this? So the first thing that we want to grab is our template, our header template. So we're going to uncomment that. Actually, so the way I have this laid out is you actually have to choose your campaign first before you can use the flyout menu, because that's actually part of the template. So perhaps we can, yeah, we could do something like reset this if I save this. Let's see here. Let's put a label in here. All right, so that'll stay up so we can see what we're doing. Let's set a background color. So this is our layout right here. And then we're going to set a height. Notice it's a height request, not a height. So you kind of have to ask permission to get that height. And you can't see the text. And then we sort of have this button here. It doesn't look like a button, it's an image, but it's actually a button. We're going to ignore that for the moment. And this other image here is going to be whenever we create the campaign, we're going to allow the users to select a image. These images obviously aren't going to be included in the app as they are copyrighted by their various owners. So we need to set up row definitions. And this lays out the rows and the columns of a table. You can do things like auto, which adjusts the size, and then whatever space is left over, or you can actually set a value. In this case, we want to go with like 70, and then for definition height 140 for the first row. And that height request will be 210. right. And then since we don't have a campaign yet, we're going to do label. Let's see here. What? Oh, no, I need to select. Select. It's using Sergio. We'll get into fonts a little bit later, but we're going to do a placeholder. So we want to stack. No. Yeah, we'll do a stack layout. Spacing of 0. Padding. Margin. We should probably come back and make these defaults, but save that for another day. And then we're going to do label. And we're going to tell the user to create campaign. And we need, in order to tell the stack layout which part of this grid we want to put it in, which row, we need to do grid.row. And we're going to set 1 because it's 0 based, because you know all developers are 0 based. If you wanted, you could have it span multiple rows, or you can have it span multiple columns. It doesn't have to be you can set the column and the row to tell it which column and row to be in, but that's just to start off with. All right, so we want to define certain styles, right? And to do that, we're going to create a style here at our global level. We're going to target a label. And we're going to call this one header. We're going to call it a header label. Okay. We're going to do setter. Oh, we need to do based on. We're going to base it off default label. So we've got that. And now we want to set the font size, because we want a set font size that you can change throughout the application. We'll also want to do a font family, but that'll be something we'll do for a later time. And we're going to do 14. I'm going to adjust that. And go ahead and set that on the all right, so we have it on here. It's kind of butting up against the side of the app, so we're going to put in some padding, and this is on the inside, margins on the outside. If you've done CSS, you're probably familiar with that. And you can do it, 4 parts, right? Starting with the left, unlike CSS, I think, which starts with the top. And then you could actually just set one number for the whole thing, but we don't want to do that. We want to just do the left and the right, and that should do the left and the right. So let's tweak that a little bit. And then we're going to adjust the size. Now there are certain settings that you can do, like large, extra large, title header, all these other different things that will actually adjust with the settings on the device. So if a user's gone through and made their fonts larger because they have eyesight trouble, this will automatically adjust to it. And it's very accessible. So we're going to play with this for a little bit. In the past, I've had some trouble with it. They've added some more options, different sizes that will adjust. So we're gonna try that out for now. And then we're going to do. Well, actually, let's change this to title label instead of header. Okay, and we can save that. All right, and then let's create a subtitle, which is pretty straightforward. We're going to use subtitle. Let's lowercase that t. And add the label here. Subtitle. Oh. Subtitle. Select game. Okay, that's pretty cool. And then the background will have an image there. Oh, you can't see that, can you? Let's scroll this up. So this is our flyout menu. Like I mentioned earlier, this little red circle is actually a D20. You can't see that on the screen very well. And there's this background color that the image that a user will choose when they create a campaign, and then they have the campaign name and the game name, and then we've got this little hamburger menu. So let's go look at that. Let's add fonts. So back in here to our code we're stealing from David. I'm pretty sure he won't mind. So under resources, he's got 2 different fonts. Let's take a look at how they're added to the project. So let's look fonts, folder, and they're an embedded resource, and they're not compiled. Okay. So let's go ahead and add. Oh, let's see. Do we have resources? No. We're going to add a folder called resources. So we have to stop running the project. Resources. We'll be able to add images and different things in there. But for now, we're just going to add fonts. And let's grab our font awesome. Do I still have that open? No. We're going to Google that with Bing. And then we're going to download this. So we can start for free. We can download it. There we go. Right in front of my face. So if, can I zoom in on this? No. We're going to have to figure out the resolution in the future. Switch over to large. That doesn't really help the text, does it? So there's 3 different main types. There's brands, which will be like your Discord, your Twitch, things like that. Adobe, and then regular, which is your different MasterCard's one. Regular icons, user friends, right? Actually, that's a solid. Can I get a non-solid? Is that a solid? Is a solid? Okay, so there's regular and solid. And then there's different file types. There's EOT, SVG, which is a collection of all of them in one SVG. And if you're doing web, that's your preferred method of doing this. For this instance, we're going to be using the TFF font. He's got solids here. What's he got under images? You can do SVGs, but we're not going to be using SVGs for Font Awesome. And we're going to use the TFF. I'm going to go ahead and copy the solids into here. Maybe. If it decides to like me. Nope. Okay. So we're going to extract this. Whee! And you can tell by the one after I've downloaded this a few times, this particular version. Let's go over to Font Awesome. We're going to look for the hamburger. Oh, ellipsy. Let's see if I can spell this right. I don't have to. Ellipsy vertical. Should it open? Oh, here we are. Fonts. What fonts? Solid. TFF. All right, so now we have our TFF. I'm going to set it as an embedded resource. Save all. And then we're going to add, let's see what we have to do. So Xamarin Forms font file. Last time I messed with this, I kept the font file and the individual platform projects. They've made great strides in that so that you can actually just have it in the cross-platform or the .NET library project, which is pretty nice. Do I have to do anything special for this? Embedded resource. Export font. So we have to put the export font in. Let's just grab that out of Zappy because, you know. Oh, it doesn't include it in Zappy. Default theme, global size, icons. Global. One of the nice things that he did in his is he created this icons.font CS, which is this global. Oh, there's his export. So we're going to steal that as well. I know we're stealing a lot today, but that is why it is there. New item class, icon font. And this is telling Visual Studio to put this in each of the platform-specific projects. And then this allows us to define all of our, since it's a font, we're using special key characters, right? Yeah, he's got all of them. So we can grab this one, which is our ellipsy vertical. And let's see how he uses that. Icons. I'm going to be lazy. We're going to put it all in one style project for now. All right, we're going to call this ellipse. Well, let's just copy that because I know I'm going to misspell it. You always misspell it when someone's watching, right? Just find the font, And then we grab, we need to define the namespace. So whenever you're doing XAML and you're adding a namespace, local, we do an XML namespace, NS, define the namespace. In this case, it's local. In that case, it was X. And then we can do using, or we can do pixel spark in this case, or whatever happens to be the name of your project / namespace. And then we can do local icon font. Did I name the icon font? Oh, it helps if I spell it right? Yeah, we don't need to do on platform, so we can just do, get rid of this, static, ecstatic, because, you know, we're ecstatic. Bump. And then there is some parameters we probably need to set. Sure. That's our size tab icon and color tab icon. We'll go ahead and change those later. And then we can actually search this project, this repository. Okay, he doesn't use it. Interesting. Oh, let's go look for a source for this. How to do this. This is my process whenever I'm writing code. Fonty Magno. Okay. We've got this, so we're going to export the font, import the old, access, turn font to code. So here's our static class, and then we can do a font image source and accessing the bindings. We don't need to use this method. We need to use, no, we don't need to use that. And we can, if we wanted to access it directly in the XAML itself, we would use this notation, which is ampersand pound X and then the code or the number, and that's hexadecimal. Font image source. Okay, so we need to have an image. And we're going to put that in the grid. Image button. And we're going to put it on the row 1. So this is effectively on top of the stack layout because it's after. And we're going to say source and static resource, and then we're going to name or reference this key, right? And then we need to run it again, see where it shows up. So we're going to pop out the flyout, and there is our ... We need to adjust the size. So let's go ahead and do that. Because that is way too big. You can probably see it at home, but that is probably not the size you want to see. Well, that didn't work. Let's go over to our styles. And that reduced it a little bit, not much. Well, first of all, let's make it horizontal options. and we're going to put it at the end so that it makes it on the right. And then let's add some margin. So we don't want any on the left or right because we've already got some going on there. But let's add some to the top and bottom. And now we have it at the size we want. Now we're not doing this yet. We don't have view models yet. But what we would do instead of you can do clicked, and then that would just go to the code behind over here. Well, let's close this. Clicked. And we can create a new event handler. And close that. Close that. Where'd it go? All right, here it is. Create a new method for us that would handle the event, but we don't want to do that. We want to use MVVM, which is model view model, and we want to use a command, and then we would bind it to the command property of the view model that we're using, and we'll get into that next session. I think I'm going to cut it here. So we've gotten some stuff going on. Actually, I want to set a breakpoint. Let's do a breakpoint into our event handler, because you can't live without a breakpoint, right? So we're going to start it and stop it, because whenever you change the code, unless you're using hot restart, you have to restart the app. And there we go. We've got a breakpoint. So we could potentially put some code here to do something, but we're not going to do that right now. And that is it for tonight. Thank you all for joining me. I hope you'll come back next time. And if you're interested in supporting our content, be sure to check out our Patreon. Thank you all, and good night.